If you're an older gentleman and still maintain the habit of self-relief, I sincerely hope you'll listen to this. Because there's a truth that almost no one is willing to tell you straight. It's silently making that part of you weaker, gradually losing sensation, while your confidence erodes with the years. It's not because you're doing it, but because of how you're doing it. I am Dr. Morgan Carter, a doctor who has dedicated over 30 years of my life to accompanying men over 60, helping them rediscover vitality, marital intimacy, and the strength they once had. And I must say honestly, this is one of those things many uncles and grandfathers still encounter, but few understand fully. Many gentlemen still think masturbation is just black and white, either good or bad. But the truth is far more complex and important, because when done right, this self-relief can still help you stay healthier, but if done wrong, it will silently erode your performance, disrupt hormones, hinder blood flow, and even distance you from your wife, children, and family. In today's sharing session, I'll walk with you through 10 hidden risks of masturbation after 60 things most doctors never explain in detail. And most importantly, I'll show you how to turn this very private habit into a natural remedy to protect the prostate, enhance blood circulation, maintain testosterone, and keep the flame of love alive. Before wrapping up, I'll also give you a simple 7-second tip that I often guide my older patients on to keep the little guy firm and strong without needing dangerous pills. Now, let's begin together. Your health and confidence deserve to be protected with the clearest truths. If you find what I'm sharing useful, please leave a 1 so I know you're listening and supporting. If you don't agree yet, just type 0 so I can understand and improve what I do. Now let's talk about something most men don't expect, because the risk isn't just physical, but starts deep inside. And this is the first silent risk that has quietly eroded the mental strength of countless men over 60. Yet few warn you about it, because the issue isn't just in the body, but in the thread connecting you to the world around you. Risk 1. Social isolation. I still remember clearly a patient who sat across from me. He was a former high school teacher, now retired at 67. In his eyes was a quiet sadness, an emptiness, not just from age, but because for a long time no one had seen the real him anymore. After some casual chat, he suddenly leaned in and whispered, as if afraid someone might hear doctor for months. Now, I haven't touched anyone, but I still take care of that myself. Is it okay? That question has haunted me for years, not because the act is wrong, because self-relief, if understood correctly and kept in moderation, is still a natural part of an older man's life. But what I worry about is when it stops being a supplement to intimacy and gradually becomes a replacement. Many gentlemen over 60, 70, even 80 quietly drift into solitary habits. One self-relief session becomes a comforting pill, a way to still feel alive, even if just for a brief moment. Then, day by day, you don't realize you're starting to distance yourself from others, no longer seeking empathy, no longer expecting to hug someone, touch someone, hear someone laugh, or look at them. Over time, masturbation fills that void until the void becomes a deep chasm. When you look back, many have lost interest in dating, holding hands, or simply having intimate conversations, because the solitary habit is easier than facing the fragility and vulnerability of truly connecting with someone. The truth is, touch doesn't just bring pleasure. It's a precious medicine that keeps your brain active, keeps testosterone flowing steadily, and keeps your self-esteem from withering. Once you stop wanting to reach out, the world around you starts shrinking. Not because you're aging, but because you've come to believe no one needs what you still have to offer. If lately you've felt yourself slowly closing off, if your private life has become your only source of connection, that's not a fault. It's a signal reminding you you were born to connect to be loved, and that's still possible. No matter your age, restoring closeness doesn't mean rushing into romance or remarriage. Sometimes it starts with a phone call to an old friend joining a group outing or a hello to a stranger. Intimacy isn't just physical. It's being heard and seen as a person still full of warmth. Because the moment you believe you're no longer worthy of being close to anyone is when you accept loneliness, dressed as independence, to lull yourself through the years. But loneliness is just one danger. The second risk lies right in your body, and many don't realize they're hurting themselves until it's too late. Risk 2, microtrauma to the skin. Not long ago, a gentleman over 70 came to me, his voice slightly hoarse with embarrassment. "Doctor, that area keeps getting irritated after each time, and lately it's repeating." I looked into his eyes and understood it wasn't just worry, but a bit of shame, as if this should have ended long ago. But what's the truth? The skin in a man's intimate area becomes more fragile and vulnerable with age. Collagen and elasticity fade over the years, plus decades of friction. It's no wonder many experience tiny scratches they don't even notice. At first it's just slight redness, mild irritation, discomfort for a few hours, then forgotten. But repeated those scratches can cause inflammation pain, even small scars. It reduces sensation rather than enhancing it. It can even allow bacteria or fungi to enter, worsening the condition. The worst part is many mistake this discomfort for hormone issues or nerve weakening. In reality, the problem is sometimes just technique, not suited to an aging body. Masturbation shouldn't cause pain. If it does, your method needs adjustment, not because you're broken. So what should you do? First, be gentler because you're no longer the 25-year-old guy from before. And please remember to care for your body more carefully. It's not weakness. It's a sign of someone who understands and values themselves. Second, always use a good water-based lubricant. Don't use Vaseline and certainly not saliva. The right lubricant reduces friction, prevents scratches, and actually preserves sensitivity in the little guy long term. Third, don't rush. You're not racing against time anymore. This isn't just about finishing. It's about connection, loving your own body. I often remind patients coming for checkups that at this age, it's not about less pleasure, but finding deeper, more refined pleasure, respecting your body and the years you've lived. Adjusting how you touch yourself isn't shameful. On the contrary, it's strength, because you're learning to walk with your body, no longer forcing it, no longer fighting it. That's the true strength of a mature man, listening to his body instead of avoiding it. If skin irritation is a sign, you can still feel there's something far more dangerous, something you can't see but silently burrowing into your brain. The third risk sounds distant, but has left countless men losing real-life intimacy. It's desensitization. I remember a 64-year-old gentleman, sharp-minded, good health, still working part-time. But that day, sitting before me, he bowed his head and sighed. "Doctor, I don't feel like before. Alone it's okay, but with my wife it's different. I don't understand why." I've seen cases like this more than you think. And it's not always due to hormones or poor blood flow. Often it's the brain conditioned repeatedly. When a man masturbates in the same way, same grip, same speed, same scenario, the brain learns to get aroused only in that rut. It's like digging a deep trench. Every time water pours, it flows the same path. Over time, it forgets other ways to flow. In bed, this makes many over 60 struggle to feel aroused, with their wife needing more force, more stimulation to get the old feeling, or can only finish by recreating the solo scenario. What was natural, now a burden. You panic and blame yourself, even feel ashamed. But I want you to understand it's not a moral fault, not necessarily a serious illness. It's just the brain trained one-sided. The good news is it can relearn starting by changing how you touch yourself. Try varying speed grip positions. Occasionally, don't rely on screens or old images. Let your imagination lead. Most importantly, don't rush. Don't just aim to finish quickly. See it as an exploration journey, not a race. Each time you create variety, you not only awaken skin sensations, but also the brain. I always tell patients your brain isn't broken. It just needs gentle, patient retraining, allowing yourself to try new things. I've witnessed many after years, distant from their wives, reconnect just by practicing differently. No complex drugs needed, just a bit of curiosity, patience, and knowing you're worthy of love. This risk is dangerous because it's silent, and by the time you realize the marital gap is hard to bridge. But that bridge can still be built. Start by retraining pleasure enjoyment solo or with someone both needing variety and self-respect. And if desensitization steals closeness sensations, the fourth risk is even more dangerous because it hides a real disease that can threaten your life. Many ignore it until everything's too late. Let me tell you about the fourth risk: masturbation masking erectile dysfunction. I still remember a gentleman over 60 looking healthy outside. He exercised 3 times a week, married happily for decades. But sitting before me, his voice lowered. "Doctor, I can still get erect alone, but near my wife, I can't." So I stopped trying altogether. That moment, I felt heavy-hearted. Not because he's broken, but because he didn't understand his body was silently sending a distress signal. What he thought was just weakness might be an early sign of vascular disease, diabetes, or hormone decline. What many don't know, and not every doctor explains fully, is that the little guy is like a barometer for your body's blood vessels. When blood flow is poor, vessels harden gradually, hormone levels drop, or nerves lose sensitivity. Erectile ability with a partner is often the first to change. But since solo is easier, requiring less emotion or psychology, many mistake themselves as still fine. In reality, that habit can make you miss early signs of diseases like cardiovascular diabetes or testosterone decline, things that can be easily treated if detected in time. I always hope patients come at the first sign, because then everything can be reversed. Improve blood circulation, balance hormones, even restore erection function without strong drugs or complex surgery. I want you to hear this clearly. Asking for help isn't shameful. The greatest danger isn't the disease, but waiting in silence. If lately the little guy is less firm, doesn't last, or can't with your wife, but can alone, don't ignore it. Share with a doctor who truly understands you as a whole person, not just a symptom. You deserve a fulfilling life, not hiding in a habit to cover up and ignore the root problem. If the previous risk is in blood and hormones, the next is even more surprising. It relates to your sitting posture. Sounds simple, but the way you sit can silently compress an important nerve, causing numbness, loss of sensation, and long-term pelvic health effects. I remember a gentleman over 70 coming for a checkup because he felt numb around the intimate area for months. At first, he thought it was poor blood circulation or just age. But after thorough examination, I found the issue wasn't blood vessels, but compressed nerves. The cause sounds trivial, his daily sitting posture. Many older gentlemen sit long on cushioned chairs, office chairs, or hunch over when self-relieving. At first glance, harmless, but repeated pressure on the pelvic floor compresses the pudendal nerve. This nerve nourishes sensation in the little guy perineum and pelvic floor. Over time, it causes numbness, tingling, gradual loss of sensation. Even some feel pain during intercourse. The danger is it starts very mild, just slight reduced sensitivity, or tingling like electricity. But if not adjusting posture, the nerve compression long-term becomes chronic damage hard to recover. I've met not a few who thought hormone decline, desire reduction, turns out just mechanical issue anyone can fix if known. The good news is just understand and pay attention, everything changes. And the solution starts with awareness. Remember not to masturbate sitting on hard chairs or hunching forward. Instead, choose leaning back or lying down so spine and pelvic are supported solidly. If needed, place a small pillow under knees. It will reduce lower back pressure and open the pelvic floor for better blood flow. Also, don't sit in one place too long daily. Stand up, stretch shoulders, walk around for blood circulation. Nerves need breathing space no less than muscles. I often remind my patients comfort isn't luxury, but self-protection. Your posture in those private minutes speaks to how you value your health. When you give nerves room to breathe, your body is allowed to feel fully again. Sounds trivial, but such tiny changes accumulate big differences. Because when you start feeling numb, desensitized, it's not just skin. It touches self-confidence, manly strength, and your connection to your own body. But posture is just a silent risk. There's a more subtle one many mistake as harmless. That's when masturbation becomes the only emotional escape. I once sat listening to a gentleman over 60 voice joking but eyes full of fatigue. Some days I'm too tired, don't want to think. Self-relief, done mind empty. He wasn't talking about desire, he was talking about loneliness, stress, boredom, the chest twinge when days pass with no calls, no invitations, everything repeating. Many men after 60, especially retired, widowed, or living alone, gradually turn masturbation into an escape. At first, it helps release stress because self-relief does reduce cortisol, produce some dopamine, oxytocin, making you feel lighter, warmer. But if it's the only life raft, you'll easily get stuck without realizing. You start avoiding friends, lazy to answer calls, no longer care for old hobbies, because staying home, self-doing, is easier, faster. No need to open heart to anyone. I want you to understand, this needing comfort isn't bad. Escaping is worrying. A man at any age needs a diverse emotional relief box. Don't let it have just one switch. Start with small things. Call an old friend. Find an activity group. Sports for peers. Walk in the sun. Nurture a new hobby. Those can't be replaced by a few minutes of climax, but they fill the heart. Because peak moments, no matter how pleasurable, are temporary. Purpose, laughter, real hugs, shared looks make you feel alive, connected. You deserve a full life, not just self-soothing minutes. And manly strength isn't suppression, but daring to open up to all emotional levels. Once understood, you'll know to ask what you really need: temporary relief or long-term solidity. And while escaping emotions can erode the spirit, the next risk weighs on the body itself. It's what few think of: guilt and shame. I've sat with a 72-year-old former pastor, calm, kind demeanor. When talking about sex, he looked down, voice small: doctor, I still do it sometimes alone. Then I feel guilty again. I don't even dare look at myself in the mirror. That silent shame gnaws at men more than we imagine. It's not just what you do, but what you've been taught, ingrained through youth. How many generations of men grew up in strict traditional families hearing self-relief is sinful, dirty, weak? Those words haunt you for decades, even when you understand it's not wrong, not shameful. Many carry that guilt for decades without ever telling anyone, not even daring to ask the doctor if this feeling is really right. So each self-touch, you get a few minutes of comfort, then trade for hours, even days of self-torment. Not because your body is damaged, but because self-esteem, self-image is torn. I want you to hear this clearly. There's nothing shameful about caring for your body. Nothing wrong with craving comfortable, comforting, or intimate feelings, especially at this age when intimacy isn't as easy to find as before. But it's never less important. Self-relief done with respect and understanding is simply a way to self-care, physically and mentally. It's not a stain. It doesn't corrupt anyone. It just proves you're still a man with emotions, needs, and healthy instincts. But if you've carried that shame silently for years, it will gradually leave real marks. Chronic shame makes the body release more cortisol, the stress hormone disrupting nerves, reducing pleasure perception, eroding self-confidence, even strangling close relationships. Things you deserve to enjoy, hugs, joy, intimacy, pushed away just because of an old mistaken belief. So the first step to healing isn't stopping, but changing thinking. Sometimes that means talking to a psychologist, especially one experienced in sexuality and mental care for older adults. Sometimes it's just rewriting the script in your head, changing torment to empathy, shame to gratitude, for still knowing self-love. You're not corrupt, not dirty. You're just a man with needs, memories, and stories, and you deserve to keep it fully without complexes. If guilt can erode the heart, the next risk, I want you to know, silently weighs on the body. It's not head shame, but a heavy, persistent feeling many don't notice until it becomes indescribable pain. That's when the body cries for rest. I remember a gentleman over 60 coming to me just to ask, "Doctor, I don't know how to describe it. Just feel heavy, persistently down there, not sharp pain, not intense, but always like something pressing." I checked prostate, no inflammation, urine test, no infection. But asking deeper about habits, I understood right after retirement, he home a lot, little work, bored, and turned to masturbation 2 to 3 times a day, like way to pass time, lull sleep. At first he felt less stress, but then the heavy feeling persisted. What he was experiencing is pelvic congestion. When ejaculating too frequently without enough body rest, blood and pressure build in the pelvic floor, stimulating tissues and vessels, light swelling, hidden inflammation. The consequence is feeling heavy, dull pain above pubic bone or vague discomfort. This isn't because of wrongdoing, but imbalance. Your body, especially past 60, no longer recovers fast, like at 25. Blood vessels, sphincters, hormones, everything needs rest intervals to self-adjust. This doesn't mean you're weak. It just proves your body is smart and wise. It knows to cry for help. If lately you feel the lower area, heavy, a bit tired, or tense after self-relieving too much, see it as a signal to pace, let the body recover. Most men over 60 are healthiest when spacing every 2 to 3 days to have a balanced rhythm, not too rushed. You see, masturbation after 60 isn't just good or bad, right or wrong. It's like a tool. Important is how you use it care for body and emotions. I've shared with you 10 silent risks from living isolated, easily emotionally calloused, causing skin inflammation, nerve damage, to complexes, pelvic heaviness, even losing real-life connections. Those aren't to scare you, but remind you your body and spirit deserve love and proper care. Because this age isn't for giving up, but for slowing down, cherishing, more wiser. Your desires still matter, sensing ability still there. And just knowing to adjust a few small habits, you can turn that private thing into a source of strength, no longer hiding shame or fear. If you see yourself in this story alone, sometimes anxious or once awkward, not knowing who to ask, I hope you keep this. It's not too late to change, no one too old to make peace with their body. And if you want, I'll share a natural, simple way. Just 7 seconds a day has helped hundreds of men regain blood flow, sensitivity, confidence without drugs or complicated procedures. Just a small habit, but enough to awaken what you thought was off. Because your health and strength deserve protection no matter your age. If you really want to hear this final part, let me know so I can send detailed guidance as a small gift. From someone who understands this not just by theory, but by 30 years accompanying thousands of men like you. Do you want to continue? Let me know. I'll be here ready to share step by step, easy to understand, easy to do, and completely natural.